In late 2020, one of the richest men in the world vanished from public life. He had been everywhere just weeks before. Suddenly, there were no interviews, no speeches, and no appearances. The silence felt deliberate and unsettling. The world began asking the same question at the same time. This was not an ordinary billionaire. He built a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars. He inspired millions of entrepreneurs across the globe. He became the global symbol of China's new tech economy. And then he disappeared without explanation. No billionaire disappears without a reason. Especially not in a country rising as a global superpower. Something had changed behind the scenes. Something powerful and invisible. And the world wanted answers. To understand this disappearance, we must go back decades. Long before fame and billions existed. Before global headlines and world leaders. Back to a quiet city in eastern China. Back to the beginning. This story does not begin with wealth or privilege. It begins with rejection and failure. It begins with a boy growing up in uncertainty. A boy with dreams far bigger than his surroundings. A boy who refused to accept limits. The year was 1964. China was still isolated from the outside world. Economic opportunities were limited and tightly controlled. Most families focused only on survival and stability. Ambition was a rare luxury. Most children dreamed of stable jobs and secure futures. But one young boy became fascinated by something unusual. He wanted to understand the outside world. He wanted to meet foreigners. He wanted to learn English. In the late 1970s, foreign tourists began visiting his city. For most locals, they were strangers from another universe. But to this boy, they represented opportunity. They represented possibility. They represented the future. Every morning before sunrise, he woke up with determination. Not for school. Not for work. But for a chance to learn. A chance to speak English with real foreigners. A chance to change his future. He rode his bicycle to a hotel every single day. He offered free city tours to tourists. He asked for nothing in return except conversation. He practiced English relentlessly. He was preparing for a future no one else could see. By the early 1980s, his unusual morning routine had become a habit. He spoke with tourists almost every day. Slowly, his English improved through real conversations. He gained confidence speaking with strangers. This small daily ritual was shaping his future. Language opened doors he never imagined. It exposed him to different cultures and ideas. It made the world feel bigger than his hometown. He began dreaming of global possibilities. His ambitions quietly grew stronger. But academic success did not come easily. In 1982, he took China's college entrance exam. It was one of the most competitive exams in the country. Millions of students competed for limited spots. He failed. Failure did not stop him from trying again. The following year, he took the exam a second time. He studied harder and prepared longer. His hopes were higher than ever. He failed again. 2 failures would discourage most people. Many would accept defeat and move on. But he refused to give up. He believed persistence could change his destiny. So he tried one more time. In 1984, his persistence finally paid off. He passed the exam on his 3rd attempt. He was accepted into Hangzhou Teachers Institute. For the first time, a door had opened. His journey forward had begun. At university, he chose to study English. The language that once felt impossible became his strength. He practiced constantly and spoke confidently. He stood out among his peers. Confidence replaced insecurity. By 1988, he graduated as one of the top students. His hard work had transformed his reputation. From repeated failure to academic success. From rejection to recognition. His confidence grew rapidly. After graduation, he became an English teacher. His salary was modest but stable. He loved speaking and inspiring students. He finally felt respected in society. Life seemed comfortable and predictable. But comfort never satisfied his ambition. Teaching paid the bills, but not his dreams. He wanted more than stability. He wanted opportunity. And soon, opportunity would arrive from abroad. By the early 1990s, China was slowly opening its economy. Foreign business connections began to appear. Translators became valuable professionals. His English skills suddenly became highly useful. A new opportunity quietly emerged. In 1995, he received a rare opportunity. He traveled to the United States for the first time. It was his first trip outside China. The world suddenly felt enormous. Everything seemed faster and more advanced. During that trip, he was introduced to something new. Something almost unknown in China at the time. A technology that would reshape the entire world. The Internet. He sat in front of a computer and tried searching online. He typed one word into the search engine. A simple word with enormous meaning. The word was China. The result shocked him. There were almost no results about China. The country was nearly invisible online. That moment changed his life forever. He saw a massive opportunity. Most people would see a problem. He saw a future business. A digital bridge connecting China to the world. An idea began forming in his mind. A bold and risky idea. When he returned to China in 1995, he was obsessed. He told friends about the Internet's potential. Few people understood what he meant. Most thought it sounded unrealistic. But he was convinced. He launched his first Internet company that same year. It was called China Pages. The goal was simple but ambitious. Help Chinese businesses go online. Introduce China to the Internet. But the timing was too early. Internet adoption was still extremely low. Businesses didn't understand why they needed websites. Investors were skeptical. The company struggled financially. His first startup eventually failed. It was a painful lesson in timing and patience. But failure did not break his confidence. It strengthened his vision. He knew the Internet would return. By the late 1990s, the Internet was growing rapidly worldwide. China was beginning to connect to the digital economy. The timing finally felt right. He believed the opportunity had returned. This time, he would move faster. In 1999, he gathered 17 friends in his apartment. They sat together in a small living room. He pitched an ambitious idea. Build an online marketplace for Chinese businesses. Most of them had never used the Internet before. He spoke with passion and conviction. He told them the Internet would transform global trade. Small businesses would sell products worldwide. China would connect to the global economy. His belief was contagious. Despite uncertainty, the group trusted his vision. They invested their savings into the idea. It was a risky and emotional decision. None of them knew what would happen. But they believed in the mission. That company became Alibaba in 1999. The goal was simple but bold. Help small businesses sell online. Create trust between buyers and sellers. Build a new digital marketplace. The early days were extremely difficult. Online payments were rare. People feared scams and fraud. Customers didn't trust the Internet. Building trust became their biggest challenge. He realized trust would decide everything. Without trust, e-commerce could not survive. So the company built systems to protect buyers and sellers. Slowly, confidence began to grow. By 2001, the company started gaining momentum. More businesses joined the platform. More customers began shopping online. Growth started accelerating. The gamble was starting to pay off. But a powerful competitor entered the market. eBay arrived in China with massive resources. Many believed the startup could not survive. The battle for China's e-commerce future had begun. This would become one of the most important tech battles in history. A small local startup versus a global giant. Few people believed the startup could win. But he was ready for the fight. In 2003, China's internet users were rapidly increasing. Millions were coming online for the first time. E-commerce was about to explode. The competition between platforms intensified quickly. The stakes became enormous. eBay entered China with confidence and global experience. They believed their success in the West would repeat itself. Their resources were massive. Their brand was powerful. Most experts predicted an easy victory. But the local startup understood Chinese consumers deeply. They understood trust and relationships. They knew culture mattered as much as technology. This insight became their secret weapon. In 2003, they launched Taobao, a consumer marketplace built specifically for China. It was designed to feel friendly and community-driven. It focused on communication and trust. It was a direct challenge to eBay. Unlike competitors, Taobao allowed free listings. Sellers could join without financial risk. This attracted thousands of small businesses quickly. The platform began growing at incredible speed. Momentum shifted rapidly. The startup prioritized communication between buyers and sellers. Chat tools allowed real conversations. Customers could ask questions before buying. This built trust in online shopping. Trust became their competitive advantage. By 2004, the platform's growth shocked the industry. Millions of users joined. Sellers multiplied rapidly. Online shopping started becoming normal. The competition intensified. eBay struggled to adapt to local habits. Their global strategy didn't fit Chinese consumers. Slowly, their market share declined. The local startup gained ground. A shift in power was happening. By 2005, the outcome became clear. The small startup defeated eBay in China. It was a historic victory. A local company had beaten a global giant. The world took notice. This victory changed everything. Investors began paying attention globally. Confidence inside the company soared. The future suddenly looked limitless. A new tech giant had emerged. After defeating eBay in 2005, growth accelerated rapidly. Investors from around the world began to notice. Funding increased and expansion plans grew bigger. The company was no longer a small startup. It was becoming a global force. By 2007, the company launched new services and platforms. Online payments became easier and safer. Logistics networks expanded across China. Millions of small businesses joined the ecosystem. The platform became essential for commerce. The company wasn't just an online store anymore. It was becoming a digital infrastructure. Payments, logistics, cloud computing, and retail were connected. An entire ecosystem was forming. Its influence grew beyond shopping. By 2009, annual sales exploded during shopping festivals. Millions of transactions happened in hours. The scale shocked global analysts. The company was redefining retail. Online shopping became a cultural phenomenon. The founder became a global celebrity entrepreneur. He spoke at conferences worldwide. His speeches inspired young founders. His personality became part of the brand. His confidence attracted global attention. By 2010, international expansion accelerated. Partnerships formed across Asia and beyond. Global investors showed strong confidence. The company's valuation kept rising. Momentum seemed unstoppable. The company began investing in cloud computing. Technology became central to future plans. The vision expanded beyond commerce. The ambition grew larger than retail. A tech empire was forming. By 2012, the platform served hundreds of millions of users. Small businesses depended on it daily. Entire industries relied on its infrastructure. Its economic impact became massive. Its influence was undeniable. Global media began calling it China's tech miracle. Analysts compared it to Amazon and Google. Investors watched closely. Expectations continued rising. The next milestone approached quickly. In 2013, preparations began for a historic milestone. The company was preparing to go public. Investors around the world waited eagerly. The stage was set for history. The biggest moment was coming. By early 2014, global investors were watching closely. Anticipation surrounded the company's public debut. Analysts predicted record-breaking numbers. Financial markets prepared for history. The world waited. In September 2014, the company launched its IPO. It took place at the New York Stock Exchange. Investors rushed to buy shares. Demand exceeded expectations instantly. The excitement was electric. The IPO raised $25 billion. It became the largest IPO in history at the time. Financial markets celebrated the milestone. Headlines appeared worldwide. The company had officially gone global. The founder became one of the richest people on earth. His wealth skyrocketed overnight. His journey inspired millions worldwide. His success story became legendary. He became a global business icon. He appeared on global stages and television shows. He met world leaders and CEOs. He spoke about innovation and entrepreneurship. His charisma captivated audiences. His influence expanded globally. He even performed on stage at company events. Singing and dancing became part of his public persona. His confidence seemed limitless. He loved the spotlight. The world loved his story. The company's ecosystem continued expanding rapidly. New technologies and services launched yearly. The empire kept growing stronger. Investors remained optimistic. The future looked unstoppable. By 2016, the platform influenced global commerce. International brands joined the ecosystem. Global partnerships increased rapidly. The company's reach became worldwide. Its power kept growing. Media called him the symbol of modern Chinese capitalism. His story represented opportunity and ambition. Young entrepreneurs idolized him. His speeches inspired millions. His reputation peaked globally. Everything seemed perfect on the surface. Success, wealth, fame, and influence. Few people saw any risks ahead. But power always attracts attention. And attention brings pressure. By 2017, the company had become a tech empire. Its influence reached every corner of China. Millions relied on its platforms daily. The founder's voice carried weight in business and politics. His influence seemed limitless. But power also brings scrutiny. Regulators began examining the company's financial operations. Questions arose about monopolistic practices. Competitors watched carefully. The government's interest increased steadily. By 2018, he remained highly visible publicly. Keynote speeches, interviews, and global visits kept him in the spotlight. He was celebrated abroad and admired domestically. Few noticed the subtle tension building behind the scenes. At home, regulators were quietly monitoring his fintech ventures. The rapid growth of Ant Group caught their attention. New laws were being discussed. Decisions were being made quietly in offices far from public view. By mid-2019, whispers about regulatory pressure grew louder. Journalists reported on internal investigations. Executives started changing behavior. Even the founder's speeches became more cautious. The tone of public appearances subtly shifted. Despite tensions, the company continued to grow. Annual sales broke records. Singles Day shopping festivals hit new milestones. Investors remained confident. The empire seemed untouchable, but cracks were forming. By late 2019, internal discussions began about risk management. Global investors were informed. Public appearances became less frequent. The founder's schedule became tightly controlled. Subtle changes hinted at larger forces at play. He continued to advise and mentor young entrepreneurs. Yet, warnings about regulation grew louder. A quiet storm was approaching. No one publicly acknowledged it. But insiders understood the stakes. By early 2020, the company prepared for the next stage of its fintech expansion. Ant Group was set to launch the largest IPO ever. Markets buzzed with anticipation. The founder remained confident publicly. Privately, uncertainty loomed. Then came October 2020. Everything changed in a single speech. He criticized the financial system openly. Words that were once considered harmless suddenly drew sharp attention. The world watched in shock. A turning point had arrived. In October 2020, his speech shook the financial world. He openly criticized Chinese regulators. Words that once seemed daring now seemed reckless. The tone of his empire shifted overnight. Investors and media were stunned. Within hours, Chinese regulators acted. Ant Group's historic IPO was halted. The largest public offering ever was cancelled. The founder's words had triggered unseen forces. Overnight, his world changed. Suddenly, public appearances ceased. No interviews, no photos, no speeches. The man who once dominated headlines vanished. The world noticed his absence immediately. Speculation ran rampant. Employees whispered about sudden meetings behind closed doors. Executives acted cautiously. Rumors of regulatory investigation swirled. Even partners became wary. Tension filled the air. Media began reporting inconsistently. Some claimed he was under investigation. Others speculated on health or exile. Truth was hard to uncover. The public felt the unease. Mystery dominated headlines. Investors felt panic. Stock valuations dipped slightly. Confidence wavered. Even loyal supporters questioned what would come next. A single speech had changed perceptions globally. Despite the growing storm, his company remained operational. Employees continued working. Business continued, but under tighter scrutiny. Power alone could not protect them. Reality had shifted. Social media exploded with theories. Was he punished? Was he in hiding? The man who had conquered e-commerce and fintech seemed untouchable, yet suddenly vulnerable. Curiosity became obsession. By November 2020, insiders confirmed he was not appearing publicly. Regulators began reviewing his fintech ventures. The empire he built faced uncertainty. Fear and speculation replaced certainty. Silence became louder than words. The man who once commanded influence over millions now faced invisible walls. Decisions that once flowed freely were constrained. Power was tested in a way no one could predict. History was watching closely. By December 2020, he had disappeared almost entirely from public view. No interviews, no social media, no events. Even loyal employees rarely saw him. The sudden absence sparked endless speculation. Questions overwhelmed certainty. Journalists called it the biggest disappearance in modern tech history. Headlines around the world questioned his fate. Analysts debated possible consequences. The global community watched in disbelief. Mystery surrounded every move. Some speculated he was being punished for speaking out. Others feared political retaliation. Few dared to confirm anything. The truth remained obscured. Every day without a public appearance increased tension. Internally, his executives were cautious. Business decisions slowed. Strategic meetings were held in secret. Employees followed orders, but uncertainty lingered. The empire seemed stable externally but fragile internally. Global investors monitored developments nervously. Share prices fluctuated slightly. Confidence wavered. The world realized that even the richest man could be made invisible. Influence had limits. Rumors about his location circulated endlessly. Some said Beijing, others Shanghai, some even Hong Kong. Every rumor fueled media frenzy. His life became a story told by speculation. Despite the chaos, his company continued operating. Logistics ran smoothly. Online sales continued to rise. The empire survived without its public face. Systems proved stronger than one man. By January 2021, the mystery became part of global conversation. Tech analysts, media, and ordinary people debated his fate. Everyone wanted answers. Silence spoke louder than any statement. For some, he had become a legend even in absence. A symbol of ambition and risk. A cautionary tale about power. A reminder that even giants can vanish. History was watching closely. By this point, his story had reached every corner of the globe. Millions wondered what had happened behind closed doors. Speculation became fact in media narratives. One thing was certain, his disappearance would not be forgotten. By February 2021, the world had grown obsessed with his absence. Conversations about him filled boardrooms, newsrooms, and social media. Every detail was analyzed. Every rumor dissected. His story had become bigger than himself. Speculation ran wild. Some claimed he had been silenced. Others whispered about political pressure. International observers were confused. Few had reliable information. Mystery became his signature. Internally, executives feared decisions could no longer be made freely. Strategic moves were delayed. Tension grew quietly. Employees worried about the empire's stability. Every day without him weighed heavily. The man who once spoke confidently on global stages now existed only in memory. Interviews, conferences, and celebrations felt like echoes from the past. Public appearances had become distant myths. His influence lingered silently. Investors and partners tried to maintain calm. Markets reacted cautiously. Analysts debated future outcomes. Even his competitors paused to consider what was happening. Uncertainty became universal. Despite the absence, the company adapted. Systems were strong. Automation and processes kept operations flowing. The founder's vision persisted without him. His presence remained felt, even if unseen. Global media began creating narratives about his disappearance. Books, articles, and reports speculated endlessly. He became a symbol of ambition, risk, and the fragility of power. Everyone wanted answers. The mystery drew attention far beyond China. Investors, entrepreneurs, and historians studied his rise and fall. His story became a case study in power, ambition, and caution. Every lesson was scrutinized. Even without appearances, he inspired millions. Entrepreneurs tried to emulate his vision. Students studied his tactics. Innovators cited his story. His legend had grown in absence. And yet, for the world, the most important question remained: who was he? The man behind the empire, the rise, and the sudden disappearance. Until now, his identity was a mystery. Soon, it would be revealed. By mid-2021, the world had adapted to his absence. Conversations continued, but fewer people expected answers. Silence had become part of the story. The empire he built remained strong. Curiosity grew with each passing day. His impact remained undeniable. Small businesses thrived using his platforms. The digital ecosystem continued to grow. His vision persisted without a public face. The legacy was ongoing. Analysts compared his story to legends of tech giants around the world. Lessons about ambition, risk, and strategy became case studies. His life had become a modern fable. Every lesson was scrutinized. The mystery also highlighted the fragility of influence. Even the most powerful people could be suddenly constrained. Power depended on perception as much as reality. Silence had shifted global conversations. Even years after his disappearance, his story inspired debate. How much of his rise was genius, and how much luck? How much of his fall was hubris, and how much circumstance? Questions outweighed answers. Media outlets continued to explore his early life, rise, and sudden vanishing. Documentaries and articles dissected every move. Historians debated his place in modern economic history. His absence was part of his legend. Despite all uncertainty, one fact was clear. His vision transformed commerce in China. His platforms created opportunities for millions. He reshaped an entire industry. Influence persisted beyond physical presence. He became a case study of ambition, risk, and power. Young founders studied his methods. Historians studied his influence. The world debated his choices. His story was now part of history itself. And finally, after decades of building, shaping, and disappearing, the world learned his identity. The man who changed modern commerce, whose story became legend, whose silence captivated billions, was Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, one of the world's largest tech empires. His rise, influence, and sudden absence left a lasting mark on global business. A story of ambition, vision, and the complex price of power.